Hello, I'm Luke Hatfield. Alongside me, Tim Spiers. We're here at Wolves' training ground, a wet training ground. Wolves take on Torino, second leg qualifying round. Chance to get into the Europa League proper now, Tim. How do Wolves tackle this game?
Well, it's a big game. Full stop. You know, they sold out quite a few days ago now. Lots of anticipation around this one, as there should be. I know Wolves are already ahead in the tie, but it's certainly shouldn't be counting any chickens. It's a massive game when you see what's on offer in terms of the Europa League. You know, for years, kind of national media will look down on the Europa League, say it's a second-rate competition. But you look at some of the teams that are going to be in that group stage. I mean, you've already got Roma, Lazio, Man United, Sevilla, Arsenal. There's some fantastic games potentially awaiting Wolves if they can progress through tomorrow's tie. The draw's on Friday. We'll know very soon who they'll play if they do get through. Even the kind of second tier teams, you've got PSV, you've got Feyenoord, you've got Celtic in there as well.
Massive clubs.
Some really good German sides. It's honestly some of the ties that can potentially away. You know, we think Torino's been good last week. There's lots more on offer potentially. So it's a huge game. They don't want to have gone through all that trouble last season in finishing 7th. You know, they made such a push in those last few weeks of the season to finish 7th. Fantastic achievement for the club. In Europe, first time in 39 years, they've come back early with an early pre-season, an intense pre-season, a different pre-season. You don't want to go through these 6 qualifying matches to get dumped out,
no.
And then all of a sudden you've got to pick yourselves up for Everton away on Sunday, and then back to the Premier League after the international break. It would be disastrous, really, if they went out at this stage. Like I said, all the effort they've gone to, and we saw in Turin last week just how special this competition can be for this club. It was spoke to many fans that night. Or since then, and they've said it's one of the best away days, if not the best that they've ever been on. And that was just Torino away, you know, not necessarily a massive club, so there's potentially some really, really special nights ahead. And I really think Wolves can do something in this competition if they can get through tomorrow night. So it's a huge, huge game.
It is a huge game, and to be honest, Nuno could not contain his excitement about it, could he?
Classic Nuno press conference. You've got to admire his consistent approach, really. You know, pushed by a few people, a few journalists in the room as to what it means, and is this a sign of, you know, the ambitions of the club? And you must be delighted to be back in European competition because he's managing the Champions League. Straight bats it all. He says, no, don't care. All we're thinking about is tomorrow's match, and it's a consistent approach. It's a dull approach for the media. Because you don't get many headlines out of it, but that approach transmits to his players because they get the same messages, and they never look far ahead, and that's a key part of their success. They never get carried away, they never get too down after a defeat. It's a very consistent approach which yields consistent results. So but obviously, of course, he's thrilled to be involved, and he wants to continue as well. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Yeah, certainly not. And going into the game, Tim, of course they've got this 1-goal advantage. I think it's vital, of course, that they're probably the first team to score, because you don't want to give Torino a chance where they think we can get through this time. Yeah,
first goal wins for me. I think well, not necessarily wins in Torino's case, but if Wolves get the first goal, I don't see them then conceding the 3 that they would need to allow Torino through. They've not lost at home since January the 2nd. It's a very impressive record. They don't concede many at Molineux either. The defence looks pretty solid to me, although there's a few ropey moments against Burnley the other day. But yeah, the first goal is the key. But interesting to see how Torino approach it. Do they sit back? Do they try and frustrate Wolves? Maybe try and get 1-0 ahead after, say, 60, 70, maybe even 80 minutes, and then really push for a second goal in the last 10?
Yeah.
Would it be a kind of classic Arsenal away at Liverpool in 1989, Luke, and really pushing?
Yeah, I really remember that. It was a year before I was born, Tim.
No, when Arsenal needed to win the title at Anfield on the last day.
Yeah.
Was it 1989? And they were made sure they were 1-0 up and then dug in and then go for it in the kind of last 10 minutes or so. So it'd be interesting to see how they approach it, but I would back Wolves to score, whatever the circumstances, really, as long as he gets his team selection right.
Yeah, and talking about team selection, is there anyone we need to worry about, or is it just everyone's available?
He says everyone's available. I think there is a slight concern over Matt Doherty and his general fitness at the moment. I mean, he's not 100%, as he told me after the Burnley game. He's still getting, but it's going to be the case. I mean, he's missed missed 4 weeks of pre-season, so he's going to be playing catch-up. Unfortunately, anyone who gets injured in pre-season is going to suffer in the first few weeks of the campaign.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll see him at his best until after the international break, personally. But you've got someone knocking on the door in Adama Traore, who's in the form of his Wolves career. So that's no issue really. It'll be interesting to see team selection. He went with the attacking wing backs in Turin, in Traore and Vinagre. Contrary completely to what I would have expected. I would have expected Doc and Johnny to kind of sit in and be more the defensive-minded wing-backs for a tough away game. But he went the other way. It worked despite the defensive errors of those two players in question. So what will he do tomorrow? He's going to freshen it up. I think Gibbs White's place will be vulnerable after his performance at the weekend. I think Bennett's place might be vulnerable as well for the same reason. But you've got Dendoncker has to start for me. I thought Wolves were really poor at winning second balls against Burnley. He's got to be in midfield. He's a key part of this team, often underrated, I think. So he's got to start. Jota and Jimenez. I mean, it's whether they can go again week after week after week. Jimenez had 2 weeks off all year. He's already played 43 games. Is he ready to go again? I mean, he's still scoring. He scores 6 and 8. But you've got Cutrone, who I was surprised he hasn't started one of the last 2 games. Knows the Italian opponents very well. He's played 5 times against Torino now. Pedro Neto has made some sprightly appearances from the bench. Is he worthy of a start? So we'll see really, because they've got a big game at Everton on Sunday. Does he play some of his more second string players and then have Jota, Jimenez and Neves maybe on the bench if needed? I don't know. You can't call him at the moment. From February to May last year, he played the same team every single week. Yeah, that's not the case now. He's chopping and changing because he has to. 5 games in 14 days, he has to chop and change. So I would imagine we'll see Vallejo come in. I would imagine we'll see Dendoncker come in for sure, and then it's where else he wants to kind of freshen it up really. But as you say, it potentially quite a nervy night. We really want them to get the first goal. Yeah, it's going to be a full house, highly anticipated game. We want a really big atmosphere. Nuno says he's going to approach it as if it's 0-0. Forget last week. It's a one-off game. If they do that, I think they'll be fine. Yeah. But if they look at it in a kind of a negative way and we're going to sit on our lead, I don't think they will. But if they were to do that, they'd be inviting problems on themselves. But if they're going with a really positive mindset to win tomorrow night's game, I think they'll be okay.
Do you wonder that when they played against Burnley, obviously wasn't the best performance, do you reckon the players, even though Nuno is very drilled in this, saying that they focus at one game at a time, do you think some of the players might have had one eye on this time?
I'm not sure really. I wouldn't have thought so. I think the Burnley performance came about as a result of this chopping and changing, which we've seen, which we know Nuno doesn't like. He likes to pick the same team every week if possible. And just the disruption of the travel. They didn't get back into Wolverhampton until 3:30 a.m. on Friday morning. Yeah. So you haven't got much time to prepare for Burnley. And I think what's maybe got lost in the aftermath of that Burnley performance is you've got to give credit to Burnley. They're so well drilled, pretty much the same team as last season. The front two are a handful, Wood and Barnes. I thought they were excellent. They're very organised and very motivated. They had a week to prepare for Wolves. Wolves had 1 day to prepare for Burnley. Yeah. It's a tough ask. I tell you what, to come through these 8 games unbeaten so far is really impressive for me. They've had really tough. They've had away at Torino, away at Leicester, at home to Man United. Really tough games. They're still unbeaten. If they're still unbeaten come the international break, I'll be. It's a near perfect start, especially if they win at Everton. Yeah, it'll be. Honestly, I'm so impressed with the way that they've handled it with these extra Europa League games. We saw Burnley last season completely went belly up. They didn't win a league game till October, November. Really struggled. Yeah, so Wolves have been the complete opposite. I think they've prepared really well. If they can get through tomorrow night, and if they can beat Everton, it's a stupendous start to the season. It really is. So fingers crossed they can do that. Fingers crossed they can. And I tell you what, they will have an atmosphere to play in, won't they? Yes, they will. Yes, full house. Like I said, unbeaten since January 2nd. Thursday night, European night. There's so much at stake. There's so much on offer. Like I said, that draw on Friday, if they can get through, I can't wait to see who they can potentially get. It's going to be a big one. Going to be a big one, and so we will see whether Wolves can make it through to the Europa League proper. Until then, make sure you stay with us for all the latest at expressandstar.com.